Hello, good morning, and welcome to Out of Spec Motoring. Today we are doing our typical 70 mile per hour highway range test, but this time in the electric smart car. So we're over here at the Tesla destination chargers at our house, our new complex area here in Rocky Mount, and we have a nice little home right over here, so we get free juice. Let's talk about the smart car really quick. This thing is, I think, the shortest range electric vehicle offered in a long time. It's rated at 57 miles of range, EPA. It has, I think, a 16 kilowatt hour battery pack. I'll put it right here. And so, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it does on the highway. We use this car as the camera car for Out of Spec. So all those cool rolling shots that we get is hanging out in the back of this thing. But it's a fantastic car. You cruise around the city, it's got plenty of range, it's really great. So let's jump on the highway and see how far it goes at 70 miles per hour. This will not take very long. And before we go, make sure you go over and take a look at our Instagram, Out of Spec Motoring, our Twitter, @Out of Spec. And if you really like these videos, we have recently launched a Patreon, the link is in the description, where you can support the channel and you get access to weekly videos that we make just for those who support Out of Spec. It's really fun. We have our viewers on every week to just talk and discuss cars and stuff, so hopefully you'll join us over there. So I used this little Tesla adapter to charge at home on the smart car, so we'll just put that there for the most part, as long as it holds. That way we have something to plug into when we get back, and let's hit the road. We are now on the highway. I've selected cruise control at 71 miles per hour because 71 in the car is actually 70 GPS. Usually is a little discrepancy there. And typically German cars always read a tad over what you're actually doing. So yeah, we're gonna cruise here, sitting on the highway. Everything's good. The top on this car is very noisy. No getting around that. I think it was it's not sealed correctly, but you know, I just haven't taken it to get fixed, so it's just gonna stay noisy. If you can hear me over the wind noise in the car, let's talk about the conditions that we're running this test. It is 81 degrees outside. It said 88 before, but it was charging, it got hot, so 81 degrees. And we have a maybe 2 or 3 mile per hour side wind, basically a very still day. So this is a great day, great conditions. It's not gonna get better than this. And then we should also talk about the car's setup. So this car originally came on staggered tires. It had, I think, 2 45s in the front, 2 65s in the rear. I have 2 55s all around. I believe that's it. Basically, we lost 10 millimeters on the rear, gained it on the front. So overall rolling resistance should be about the same. And they're brand new tires set to factory specs. So everything's about as good as it's gonna get for the smart car today. Okay, we're gonna need to figure out our turnaround point here pretty soon. I know we just started this drive, but we're already down to 70%. So my plan is to go down to around 60%, turn around, and then it's about the same elevation. So we'll have maybe 15–20% once we get back to around our starting point, and then I'll just go up and down the highway locally back in Rocky Mount. So I think that's going to be the plan. So we'll start looking for an exit, maybe 1 or 2 up from here. Okay, and we have reached our turnaround exit point. We're at 62%. I didn't really want to go farther because I'm not quite sure how far up the next exit is. So better to be safe than sorry. There's plenty of exits back at home for us to go back and forth on, but this was a great chunk. So what we're gonna do is obviously regen down, and we'll merge back on the highway with moderate acceleration. We don't wanna take a lot of heat out of this pack with heat loss. And so let's continue. I love this smart car so much. For those who don't know, just like this really is my favorite car. And I'll also put a link in the description down here where I just wrote an article for an outlet called Hooniverse, how this is truly the only perfect car, and it includes drifting around the racetrack and a little bit of off-road in the mud for everyone who knows that we like to do that stuff with our smart car. So now merging back on the highway, we can see we're only using 24 kilowatt, really not much. Peak power output is 60 kilowatt from this battery and motor combination. And let's get us back to 71 miles per hour and we'll head back home to Rocky Mount. Since we're just cruising in the car, we should probably talk about like buying one of these things. You know, I bought this car, I actually leased it. I did a one-pay lease from Mercedes, and it was like $150 a month. So basically it was like less than $5 grand I wrote a check for, and it came like for 3 years, and which is awesome. But I think I'm gonna buy it off lease. I have really no plans to give it back to them. And one of the reasons is you can't buy a new one anymore. So that's just so sad that no one bought these things for them to keep selling in the US. It's a lot of it's due to the range and the price. I mean, this thing's $30,000, but you know, on a lease it made a lot of sense, and you got the tax credit, and it's just a great, practical, useful car for people like me, but I guess there's not many of me out there. So in Europe, you can still buy these things new, but not in the US. We have officially reached 50% state of charge. And we are, let's see how many miles into this trip, 24 miles, so that would predict a 48-mile range at 70 miles per hour. We'll see how close we get to it. We'll also see the battery's logic for running out, because this just got a software update that changes the whole BMS system for the battery pack. Before, it used to basically regen at full at high state of charge, and it would never taper the charge curve, and I always felt that it was a little hard on the battery pack. And now there's a really nice power smooth-in at 100% charge for a regen, so you're not just stuffing a ton of power in when it's full. But I'm not sure what the characteristics are going to be when it's empty, so we'll see if that changes. I've only run this car all the way down once before, I believe. Maybe Alyssa has one time. So this pack really just sits around 30 to 50% at the out-of-spec track waiting for our next video shoot. It really doesn't get used that hard. Now granted, we drive the car hard when we are driving it, but the battery's very happy. And we are now driving past the exit that we originally got onto the highway with. This is 468B. We've traveled 35 miles so far. We have, let's take a look to see how much charge we have left. We have 26%. I think our plan is to take the next exit available, even though it's a little bit before where we should be, but I think the next exit's like 8 or 10 miles, and I don't want to get stranded on this test. So we'll get off here. We're at 20% state of charge. We'll be at like 19 by the time we exit, and then we'll just drive around till it dies. Battery reserve level as we're exiting the highway here. And you can see we're regenning it up, charging up that battery. Just try and keep it moving as much as possible, because any stop time is wasted energy. But so far we've been really efficient. This is one of the best range tests because we've just been able to just peg it at 70 miles an hour for the most part, and it's been really good. So far we're allowed to get full power out of the battery, and full regen is allowed. As the battery pack dies, I imagine some of these little orange lights, which is available power use, will start to back off, and that indicates that, hey, we're really about to run out. But that probably won't happen till we're really almost dead, but we'll find out. We have just received our second battery warning, this time for 10% state of charge. This is our last highway interchange turnaround loop. We are going to kind of roll off of this fairly quickly. The Smart Car is a great handling vehicle for those who don't know. And right, so now let's get back on the other direction, get off at the exit our house is on. Hopefully we can make it there. I'm sure we can. It's only a couple miles. and then we will be ready to rock and roll. This whole intersection, this is where Starbucks is, by the way, and it gets flooded sometimes. So if it gets flooded, I pretty much have no way to get to Starbucks. Oh, I need to go left here. Here we go. Nice thing about living in Rocky Mount is no one else lives here. So you can make moves like that and there's just literally no one around. While we're just waiting to merge onto the highway, one thing I'm noticing is now that we have dipped under 10% and I have eco mode selected, the air conditioning isn't working well. It's definitely kicking on. I can hear the compressor, but it's not at the same RPM target that it was before. So it's starting to get a little warm in here, but that's okay. This won't take very long. Our miles to empty once you hit 10% in the smart showed dash for some reason. And here we go, we're getting off the exit with 6% battery left, as we do with all out-of-spec range tests. We will now drive it around until the car doesn't want to move anymore at low speed. So, just the highway portion with 6% remaining, we have achieved 44 miles of range. Now, what can we add to it? Just going around here. I think it is also going to be interesting to see how the battery handles low state of charge and vehicle shutdown. I think, we've seen some EVs just say, hey, please pull over, battery's low. We've seen others just shut down. Also, how calibrated is the BMS on this car? Is it going to shut down with 5% remaining? It's possible. This car really sits, what's good for the battery, sitting between 30 and 50% all the time, isn't always good for the BMS because it loses track of the top end and bottom ends of the battery pack. So it'll be interesting to see how well the Smart does in this test. That is quite the machine. Pretty cool. In Rocky Mount, you can kind of just drive whatever you want down the street. That's the best part about living here. No one cares. You just drive. You don't need your car registered. You just drive around. So we're down to 3% state of charge. I think this might be the last loop that we do here. And let's see how well this does. We have not lost any power bars on the meter though. So maybe the BMS is a little uncalibrated. And what that means is maybe we can go a little past 0. But these are all just preliminary thoughts. We are still at 2%, just driving by the house. I'll show you guys over here. This is pretty cool. If you're ever driving up and down 95 and need a place to stay, first off, you can always reach out. I'd love to get a drink with our viewers. I've already seen many of you guys. It's been a blast. But we have a tiny home hotel right over here. How cool is this? So each one of these little tiny homes is named after a different North Carolina river. They're all designed differently inside. They have kitchen, restrooms, the whole bit. And then you can basically come and spend the weekend, what a lot of people do, over here at the mills where we have, restaurants and breweries. And it's just an amazing spot to hang out. So basically what we're gonna do is drive around the parking lot and just run this thing down till it dies. But yeah, we have the Tar River right behind here. So if you like kayaking or canoeing, you can do that. We have, I think, 6 or 7 Teslas that live here. We all have a little group where we can manage the charging stations. So that works out perfectly. And it's just a beautiful, I'll take you on a little tour while we're running this thing, the next 1% down to empty. I'll take you on a little tour. So we have the pizza place there. We have a really nice brewery. They do like live concerts and stuff. So we can sit on our front porch and watch live comedy. We have a Mexican restaurant right here. This one's open. Sometimes they do wine out of that trailer. We have obviously the Tesla chargers. There's a bottle shop. So that's like you can get your kegs there and beers on draft. We have incubator breweries all throughout here, and what these are essentially is the mills pays for all of the needed materials and necessary equipment to brew your own beer, and basically you just pay rent, and it's a good incubator for startup breweries. That's Books and Beans. It's a nice coffee shop, and then this is all going to get developed this year, and I think it's delayed because of COVID. They should have already started, but we'll have this cool bridge. And then there's a ton of lofts inside this and businesses that operate out of there, which is pretty cool. And one of them is the Rocky Mount Telegram that I'm going to start doing some video work for electric vehicles to get people in Rocky Mount, our local area, aware and interested of EVs. So now we're down to 1%. We're gonna make a U-turn here because I don't want to go too far away just in case this thing decides to completely shut off on us. Let's make a quick U-turn. Best part about the smart car is that turning radius. And you can see we're down on the power meter now. We have lost 1 bar. So that means we are really running out here. You know, we've really hit bottom pack voltage. So this is going to be pretty exciting to see how far we can now drive at 1%. All right, we finally lost another power bar. We were just 2 over 50. Now we're down to 50%. So I'm going to start heading back towards the mills, back towards the chargers, and yeah, we'll just plug it in because this, you know, at this point, 1 mile doesn't really make a difference. No, the car doesn't go very far. But it is interesting to see just how long you can drive at 0% on this smart car, and part of that's probably logic as a buffer, and part of that's probably some BMS confusion as well. When I said let's go back to the charger, I meant let's do another loop, but now we really have no power. That's pretty much floored. So now maybe we'll head back. I don't know, this thing just doesn't want to shut off. It's pretty incredible just how long it's gonna go for. Reserve battery, nothing left. Gotta love it. Oh, let's jump the speed bumps. Whoa! We had some wheels off the ground there. And we have arrived back at the chargers with almost no power remaining. It basically doesn't want to go above 20 miles an hour. I haven't checked, but let's see how far we went on one charge. 51 miles. Shortest range we've ever tested so far. And there we go. We are plugged in on the Tesla wall connector. It'll pull 7 kilowatt, 32 amp, and we're gonna charge this thing back up. But there you have it, 51 miles in the electric smart car. And not sure you can ask for much more than that. This thing is a beast. It's held up so well, and it is definitely my favorite car. And 51 miles, by the way, EPA is 57. That includes city and highway. This was mostly just highway use. That is pretty impressive. It's not a very efficient car. It actually doesn't even tell me the watt hour per mile or miles per kilowatt hour. Otherwise I would add it, but it was like 91 mpge. I need to look up to see if there's an equivalent. I know it's not very efficient. It's basically a brick. It catches all the side wind because it's pretty tall, but there you have it. If you like this kind of stuff, we'll be doing them with almost every single EV on the market. So, you know, definitely subscribe to the channel, check out our Patreon, and we'll see you on the next episode.